We do not promote the use of legal or illegal psychoactive substances. This video has been created strictly for harm reduction purposes. Mitragyna speciosa, kinda sounds like I'm saying vagina species, more popularly known as kratom, is a tropical tree that's in the same family as the coffee tree. And in many countries around the world, kratom is a legal psychoactive substance. Kratom is native to Southeast Asia, where it has been used for hundreds of years as a natural traditional medicine. Kratom has over 40 known active alkaloids. This gives the substance very unique and diverse effects. Some of the positive effects include stimulation, relaxation, pain relief, feelings of empathy, euphoria, and even vivid waking dreams. Some of the negative effects include, well, just the very bitter taste, nausea and dizziness, especially in high doses, constipation, mild depression after the fact of using it, and even addiction with the potential for withdrawal pangs. In extreme cases of addiction, people have reported jaundice and some liver toxicity. But in normal doses, the substance is believed to be extremely safe. Of the over 40 active alkaloids, compounds such as mitragynine act as an opioid agonist, which is precisely why kratom is an extremely effective treatment for those who are trying to wean themselves off of very heavy opiates like, say, heroin. Even though kratom does hit some of the same opioid receptors as substances like heroin, it's not even close to the strength of something like heroin. I mean, not by a long shot. Kratom would hardly be considered getting high. In fact, due to the diverse group of alkaloids within kratom, it doesn't strictly act as an opioid agonist. And say if you were to take a drug test for opiates and you consume kratom that same day, you would not pass a positive for opiate use. In other words, no. Kratom is not an opiate. Kratom may have alkaloids within it that act as opioid agonists, but this does not mean that kratom itself is an opiate substance. In doses between 2 to 6 grams of powdered leaf, instead of the usual sedation that one would get accompanied with normal opiate use, you can feel energized and your ability to concentrate can be increased. In regular doses, kratom doesn't really feel like a high. In fact, I wouldn't really call taking kratom getting high. Rather, it has the ability to put the user in a very calm, relaxed, slightly euphoric, and sometimes chatty mood. The uplifting and euphoric effects are not necessarily very pronounced in most users. Most people would just say it feels like it puts them in a good mood. However, in higher doses, the effects can be quite sedating, and it can behave more like a traditional opiate. Except in high doses, you run the risk of dysphoria and particularly the intense nausea. In terms of the sedative effects, some users feel sedation from as little as 3 grams, whereas others would have to take more than 6. Tolerance and individual brain chemistry play a large role in regards to what types of effects you're going to get from kratom. There are some individuals who have tried multiple strains of kratom from multiple vendors, and no matter what, they don't seem to get an effect. Then there's other individuals who are extremely sensitive to it, where just 2 to 3 grams is enough to boost their mood and put them into a productive state. Quality of leaf also plays a huge role in the potency of it. A lot of people who buy kratom from, say, a smart shop are extremely disappointed. The very first time I ever tried kratom was about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and I had walked into like a head shop, you know, places that would sell salvia traditionally, and I decided to try kratom. I made myself a tea out of the leaves, and I drank twice as much as was suggested, and I felt nothing. Nada, zippo, zero. In fact, that just turned me off completely, as it does with most people. Most people who try kratom this way say, oh, that stuff didn't work for me. I mean, that's what I said. However, thanks to the internet and online forums, it's become a lot easier to find vendors that sell good quality leaf. If you have never tried kratom before, you want to start small. You're going to start at 2 to 3 grams max. The dose that I have personally found to be the most effective for the nootropic effects is about 3 to 4 grams. Usually I take at least 4 grams. I find if I take any more than 4 though, then it becomes too sedating, meaning I can't focus if I'm too busy falling asleep. In order to dose kratom, you're going to need a milligram scale. You can get these for cheap. They're about $10. I bought mine, well, mine was about $15, but I got it at a convenience store. You don't really need anything too precise, as long as it goes to 0.00. A popular way to take kratom is called the toss and wash method. First, you're gonna get your kratom. I'm using some white Meng Da, which should be very stimulating. Well, not very stimulating, but it should be stimulating and it should give me some nice nootropic effects. We're gonna weigh out the appropriate dose. I'm going for about 4 grams here. Yeah, whatever, that seems good enough, why not? Just gonna pour this kratom powder into our cup. I probably poured a bit too much water here. You don't want to pour too much because then, yeah, you've got to force down more of this kratom sludge. A lot of people like to add lemon to it, but I'm just honestly too lazy to go upstairs and to get a lemon. I'm gonna warn you guys, the taste of this stuff is not pleasant. It's pretty nasty because it's very grainy and you can just taste all the little particles as they stick to the back of your throat and in your teeth. And yeah, I'm not painting a pleasant picture right now. Usually I like to have something to chase it with. All I got with me right now is some warm water. All right, cheers guys. Taking kratom so I can continue making my video on kratom. There you go. Not so bad. A friend of mine likes to take it with chocolate milk. She said that she read online that the chocolate milk just completely covers up the taste. I have yet to try it with chocolate milk. Some other options are you can actually make a tea out of it, although you want to make sure that you do use lemon if you're doing that, so that the lemon can help pull the alkaloids out of the kratom and into the water. Or you can just drink the kratom powder with the water, which would be the most effective route. Other people like to capsulate their kratom, but when you're taking 4 to 5 grams, and you can hardly fit a gram into a capsule. I mean, a gram in a capsule is one big-ass capsule. Yeah, it's not as effective, and it's extremely time-consuming. Also, when you take it in a liquid, it absorbs faster, which is just more beneficial than waiting for those capsules to all dissolve in your gut. The effects will usually begin to manifest within 30 minutes. By an hour, most people are fully feeling the effects. The speed at which it's going to affect you, and even the intensity of the experience, is fully up to what's in your gut. If you just ate a big meal, then obviously it's going to take longer to absorb, and it may not be as intense as such. And now that I'm sufficiently stimulated from that white vein kratom, let's get into the topic of the different strains of kratom and the varying effects. The physical effects of kratom are dependent on which strain you have. There are 3 primary strains. There's red vein, white vein, and green vein. The names literally come from the color of the veins that you can see on the bottom of the leaves. Red vein is the closest you can get to an actual opiate. People find it very sedating, relaxing, and they find it has usually the most euphoria. White vein acts more like a stimulant. People get a boost of energy, increased concentration, which is why I thought it would be smart to take it while filming the video. You guys don't want to see me nodding off here on some red vein stuff. White vein is commonly used as a nootropic substance. Nootropics are smart drugs. Green vein behaves like a mix of red and white, offering stimulation and also an adequate amount of euphoria. So, does the vein color actually make that much of a difference? Many people report that it actually does. The different veins indicate what concentration of what alkaloids that strain of kratom has. However, personally speaking, I have found the biggest difference between different veins of kratom, well, different strains of kratom, isn't necessarily in the strain itself. It's where that kratom originated from. When you search kratom online, you'll see many different names for it. One might be called red Meng Da, or maybe green Malay. Meng Da means it's harvested from Thailand, whereas Malay means it's harvested from Malaysia. Kratom that originates in these different geographic locations is known to have different concentrations of alkaloids depending on where it's from, as well as the vein. Meng Das are known more for their stimulation and increased ability to focus, whereas the Malaysia strains, the Malays, are known to be more relaxing. Out of the strains that I've tried, one of my favorites so far is one called Green Hulu Kapuas. This strain is thought to be a mix of the green and white, and personally, I find it very euphoric and it feels like social lubricant. It just felt so much more clean than, say, having a few beers. It goes without saying that mixing kratom and alcohol is a pretty big no-no. As I stated at the start of the video, kratom is legal in pretty much all countries. Currently, though, the DEA has added kratom to their watch list of dangerous chemicals. They claim that it's a substance of concern and a drug of potential abuse. Of course, there is abuse potential as with any substance, but overall, kratom has proved itself to not only be safe, but to save people's lives. Former opiate addicts, people who are addicted to oxys or heroin, can thank their recovery to kratom. If it wasn't for kratom, they'd still be shit. Some of them would probably be dead. That being said, not a single person has died directly as a result of kratom. There have been about 3 deaths where within the toxicity reports, kratom was noted as a substance, but these were combination cases where the people took a combo of drugs, and the drug that they said ultimately resulted in their death, in all 3 of these cases, was not kratom. Although it's easier to, say, kick a kratom habit than a heroin habit, kratom is addicting. And if you have an addictive personality, and say you're not using it to wean yourself off opiates, it may be in your best interest to stay away from it. The withdrawals aren't terrible, but there are definite opiate-like withdrawals. People report having like a runny nose, irritability. That all being said, it's not half as addictive as a lot of the substances that Big Pharma pushes on people, which is probably why it would appear that Big Pharma is the one that's trying to criminalize this substance. They don't like the notion of, a safe and legal natural substance coming along and taking their sales away, regardless of the fact that it's been saving lives, and this is what we're seeing right now. Currently, kratom has the potential to become an illegal substance in the countries where it's currently legal. Basically, we have another case of a fucking plant being targeted just because it's helping people. Doesn't that sound a lot like, I don't know, cannabis? Personally speaking, I initially tried kratom because I had read about its nootropic properties. I've never been the kind of guy who was into opiates. Actually, the one and only time I ever tried morphine was due to a procedure at the hospital. But it was the reports I read about the increase in creativity and focus that led me to trying this substance. Also, I just really like that it's natural. I'm a huge fan of the substances that, grow naturally in the earth. I think that they are, in most instances, a lot more safe than the chemical counterparts. In my own personal experience, I have found kratom to actually be a fantastic boost for my creativity. Sometimes I'll have writer's block, or I can't think of a new video to make, and it's been during those periods of, say, making myself a kratom tea that my thoughts start moving a lot smoother. I find it has a lot of anti-anxiety effects. That's a huge one that I haven't even mentioned yet. I could personally see kratom being a fantastic option for people to use it when, say, they get hit with an anxiety attack. I think it's much more healthy and safe than, say, using a benzodiazepine. Now, onto the negative effects that I've personally noticed. I personally can see this substance being very addicting. I find that I'm a lot more happy and calm when I'm on it. It can be very easy to get addicted to being in this state of being in a perpetual, really good mood. Unfortunately, though, frequent use will give you a tolerance, meaning you're going to have to take more and more to get the same effects, and with needing to take more and more, the potential for negative side effects increases. Personally, I wouldn't advise using it any more than, say, once every couple of days. So, for example, you would take it day 1, take 2 days off in between, and then consume it again. What you also want to do is alternate strains. That way your brain doesn't get a tolerance to any one particular strain. So say on the first day you would take, a white vein. Then on the 4th day, you're going to take a green vein, and then a red vein, and then so on and so forth. In conclusion, I would recommend kratom to anyone who's struggling with an opiate addiction. I strongly believe in its potential to help people crush life-threatening addictions. I would also recommend kratom to anyone who needs a boost in focus. I'd even recommend kratom as a replacement for Adderall in people who are struggling with the nasty come-downs that Adderall has. I'd also recommend kratom as an alternative to drinking. Going out and socializing on a dose of 4 to 5 grams of some Meng Da puts me in a much more euphoric and just fluid state than a few beers does. I also feel a lot more friendly and just positive. It makes my conversations just, they have a much happier tone to them. And again, I could never recommend kratom to anyone who has an addictive personality. The only people that I'm suggesting try kratom are those who have, a serious opiate addiction that they need to kick, or people who are currently using things like Adderall to focus. I think kratom is a fantastic alternative to that, but I wouldn't recommend kratom to someone who plans to take it as like a daily escape from reality and as a way to get high. It's kind of just good to have in your arsenal for those days when you just feel really stuck and like you can't get yourself going. Anyway, that concludes this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my KRATOM video. I know I usually talk about psychedelics, but KRATOM being a natural plant and just because it's such a fascinating nootropic substance to me, I really wanted to cover this. Also, I really want to let you guys know that I have finally released the story of how I went bald. I promised you guys like 6 or 7 or maybe more months ago that I was going to explain to you how drugs were the reason that my hair fell out. Well, I have finally made the video. Unfortunately, you won't find it on Psych Substance because it's more of a life story, and I made a second channel just for telling those types of life stories. If you guys want to check out my second channel, Swim, you can find the video of how drugs made me go bald there. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel for weekly psychedelic content. Till next time, stay safe everyone, always test your substances, and yeah, have a good one, guys. A huge shout out to everyone who's supporting us on Patreon right now. If you would like to learn more about Patreon, you can follow the link and you can learn more there. Till next time, stay safe everyone, and don't do anything that I would not do. Take care, guys.